The bond between a parent and a child is based on loyalty. It's based on devotion to the well-being of the other. It's based on compassion. It's based on giving and looking at the other. The parent looks at the child and sees the promise of life. It sees in sanctity. The child looks at the parent as they age and sees protecting life, protecting the heritage, and gratitude. That's what the bond between a parent and a child is. It's not based on, well, if you're a good kid, I'll keep you, otherwise I'll throw you away. If I don't like how you look, I'll throw you away, I'll get another kid. This is like the insanity that's being promoted now. The one that says, I can demote you from being my mother, and I'm going to be somebody else's daughter, and call somebody else mom. Because when I do a checkout, and I check everything you've done, which only God can remember, I found that there were a few things you didn't do well. And based on that, I can demote you. First of all, it's such a departure from reality that it's almost psychotic, right? When my daughter started to act like this, I did not know if she was developing a psychosis because she was in her early 20s, or mid-20s, I think, at the time, or she was being indoctrinated. It looked like she was following a cult. But the problem was that psychosis or cult behavior are so similar, especially in the beginning. You cannot look at what your parent did. I now, in my 60s, realize what it was like for my mother to be a 20-year-old mother herself with a little baby that is premature, alone in a city where she went for me to have surgery, to have my tonsils removed. There was no anesthesia like nowadays. They could not anesthetize a premature baby. So they had to do only some local anesthetic. She had to hear her child scream. She had to comfort me for weeks after. What was it like for her, a 20-year-old? If I'm going to remember everything my mother did, that's a huge memory to remember. What was it like for her to carry water, to heat it up, to put bottles and cotton to keep my body warm in the winter? Do I think about these things, or do I just think about the few things I remember that she didn't do well? And she didn't guide me well at some points, or she didn't see me at some points. There are millions of interactions between me and my mother. The majority of them are about devotion, loyalty, courage. The therapist could reorient my perception to package things in an entirely different way. Does my daughter, when she thinks about me, ask, what is it for 3 months in freezing cold and high snow? What is it like for you to go with me to the emergency room every single day for 3 months and stay there for hours and give me Pedialyte to make sure I don't dehydrate, and meanwhile to listen to parents losing children, to emergency babies? It was totally heartbreaking for me and so terrifying to be in an emergency room for hours, day after day. Does she ask, what was it like for? What kind of devotion do you feel? I didn't say, oh, well, your digestion is not good, I want another child. It's just ridiculous. How could she possibly think about who I am as a mother? Because she cannot remember 90% of it. Just like I cannot remember 90% of my mom. Just like her daughter will not remember 90% of what she did for her. We are told to honor our parents. It is part of the first 10 commandments. We lose civilization if we lose that. If we lose the ability to honor the elders and to protect the innocence of the youth, we have lost civilization as we know it in this country. There's something very interesting. One of the places in which communities are being built by estranged children that congratulate each other for dehumanizing their mothers, that encourage each other into cruelty to the point of becoming a despondent, is TikTok. What's interesting to me about this is that in 2013, China passed a law that every adult child is responsible for their parents financially, psychologically, emotionally, physically. If the parent is 60 years and older, they are protecting their society. That's an interesting thing, wouldn't you say?